if you have seen previous video, we have studied about the accounting standards part 1, where we have learned about what is accounting standard, why it is required, who makes it, and in specific to India, what is accounting standards and what are different bodies present in our country, and how any organization, if needs to follow the accounting standards, and the objectives, scopes, functions, implementation, all those we have seen in the previous video. But today we are going to cover each and every accounting standard in detail. So overall we have 32 accounting standards. So the major thing that, like, it is not like we are going to remember everything, but we are going to understand what it is. So whenever we will come across, okay, this thing, okay, this must have been stored in the books of account based on this accounting standard, so that's how we can correlate. So it is nothing to remember. Okay, so today we are going to just go or do a little bit of deep dive in the accounting standards. First is implementation of accounting standard. So this speaks about in an organization. Let's focus on the small parts first so that we can clear with our concept. So here implementation of accounting standard says that in real time, if any organization is there, okay, now in that organization there will be an auditor, there will be internal auditor, there will be an external auditor, there will be other management who is going to take decision. But how and who is responsible for any wrong things done, or who is responsible for auditing, and if they have any queries, to whom they should contact, okay, and how the process happens, and like how the sequence is there. Like, if I have query, I will ask my teacher. If my teacher has query, he will ask her teacher. So what is that sequence? So that is what we see in the implementation of accounting standards, because here the focus is how the accounting standards, which is like nothing but a standard rules and regulation for preparing of financial statement, how those are implemented in any organization. Okay, so first we see that auditor. Okay, so this auditor is a person who is recruited by a company for creating of a financial statements. Okay, now responsible of this auditor is to just see, okay, these are the transaction that is happening in the organization, and this is what the statement is. So is there any fault? Okay, is there any compliance issue? Is there something that we should not cover and we covered, or is there anything that we did by not following an accounting standards or other policies? So those kind of opinions auditors will say, that's it. But the responsibility of implementation will be there with the enterprise. Okay, so the management in the enterprise will be responsible for implementation. Auditor is only responsible for framing his opinion. If there is something wrong, he can simply state his opinion. Okay, so based on that, again, it is the management who is going to decide whether they need to change something, or they should go in the opposite of the auditor. Okay, now implementation of accounting standards by Indian enterprise, that financial statement and disclosures are prepared by complying with accounting standards. Okay, so here of course now auditor's responsibility is to give his opinion whether it is correct or not, so that will be based on accounting standards, right? So our intention is that the compliance should be there with the accounting standard. So whatever we are creating financial statement, it should follow accounting standards, and it should not follow only some of them but all. Then only they can say that it is compliance with the accounting standards. Okay, now they should disclose everything that they are using, like what are the policies, principles, rules and regulation. Okay, now here whatever it is mentioned is, when we are implementing accounting standards, those standards we need to make sure that the standards that we are following are coming from the body called ICAI. It is not coming from someone else. Okay, strict adherence to accounting standard would improve presentation and understanding, because since you are following some rules which is standard across the globe, so if you are preparing something the same way the others are also preparing, so it would be easy for comparison and for understanding by the people who is from the other company, or by the public who are well aware of what are the generic rules. Okay, now next we have implementation should be in convergence with the IFRS. Okay, now what is IFRS? See, at our country level, okay, if I am opening a shop, I will first follow my Indian rules. Okay, so what is Indian rules? That you can see here, I have kept it. Okay, so the first thing that I'll follow is my GAAP. Okay, now GAAP is nothing but generally accepted accounting principles. Okay, now after GAAP, what happens is I have to follow Ind AS. Okay, now okay, so if you are not getting the picture, what is happening is, when I'm starting my business, I know only what is happening in India. Okay, because I am from India. So I will the rules and regulation that I will follow are from the GAAP. Okay, so these are the standards which I will follow initially. But when I try to globalize my organization, okay, I want to open one another branch of my company in some other country, not in India but some other country. But there it will be like, if you are opening in some other country, that country will have its own gap, because India has some local rules and regulations, that will be Indian gap. Some other country, they will have their own gap. So what happens is, before you go to the global level, you need to first make sure that your accounting principles, your financial statement should meet the international level accounting standards, which is nothing but IFRS. So the very local level is known as GAAP and very international level is IFRS. Now when you are following GAAP, now you want to go to IFRS, it is not possible, because there will be huge variations, okay, between the terminologies, between the policies and all that GAAP using and IFRS using. So there comes our Ind AS. So what happens here is, from GAAP, when we try to move towards IFRS, we take a step one step ahead, that is Ind AS. So we move from GAAP to Ind AS. Now Ind AS and IFRS, when we compare these two, right, when we compare Ind AS and IFRS, so Ind AS nothing but basic version of IFRS. So if we are preparing accounting statements based on Ind AS, it is very good probability is there that someone from the international level can also understand Ind AS up to certain level, because the terminologies again used in Ind AS is similar to that of IFRS, with again small changes for sure, because it is not IFRS completely. So we move from GAAP to Ind AS, then from Ind AS to we move from IFRS. So this we do to globalize our organization, okay. So what they are saying is, implementation should be convergence with IFRS. Now the next thing is, to accomplish implementation objective, a committee has been constituted. Okay, now our organization has auditor. Now the management and auditor will make sure that whatever financial statement we are preparing should be in compliance with the accounting standards. Now if I have some queries, I am not sure, even the management is not sure, even the auditor is not sure, so they will try to meet a committee which is specially meant for encouraging the corporates to follow the accounting standards, okay. So the people having any kind of queries, they will meet this committee. And even if this specially made committee which is meant for resolving issues, even if it is not able to solve the issue, then they will move to their parent body, which is nothing but ICAI, okay. So you can see here, issues faced by committee, then they will move to ICAI. So our organization has auditor who is facing problem in identifying, he will move to a committee which is meant for resolving the issue. And even if the committee is facing issue, they will move to ICAI, because here we are not having any intention of creating a fraud. So if we have any query, we go and ask and clarify whatever it is with ICAI, okay. Now to accomplish, this committee would provide assistance in proper implementation of IFRS or converge towards Ind AS, okay. Yeah. So this thing is fine. So whatever we did so far was with the intention of properly comply, like our financial statement should be compliant with our accounting standards, and for having that, how to implement and what are the people involved in this, all this we have studied here, okay. Next, now we are going to study about each major accounting standards, okay. So we are not going to cover all 32 but major one. So aspects of AS1, what it says is, whatever policies, rules, okay, some extraordinary things, okay, or something which you are deviating from accounting standards and with the proper reason you have, so all those things that you are using should be disclosed, okay, whether it is with the whether it is following the account standards or whether it is not following. So there is a possibility that you don't follow the accounting standards, but still it is accepted. Why? Because you have the proper reasoning for that, okay. So whichever is followed, whichever is not followed, here we say that everything should be disclosed. And we use some other concepts while choosing a policy, which one to go for, which one not to go for. So some of those concepts which are given special consideration, those should be disclosed as well. Now what are those special concepts? It might be these things, okay. So if there is any change in account policies, so that's why there was some transaction which were following something which was previously framed, and now today I see Indian Institute of Chartered Account of India gave some change today. Now based on this, my future transaction are somewhat different. So those things we need to disclose. Now, is there any prudence concept if we are using? So if you don't know what is prudence, it means that suppose there's a possibility your company might come across some penalty that they have to pay. It is not sure, okay, but there is a possibility. So we try to be rude to ourselves, and we try to keep in mind the worst possible case, and then based on that we say we follow the prudence concept. So that is prudence concept, being rude to yourself, and if there is something bad happening, consider that in mind, and then have the transactions written in your books of accounts. So that was aspect of AS1. So it mainly focusing on disclosing of anything that you are using. Okay. Now AS2. So here, as per this accounting standard 2, what we say is we have two things: cost of purchase and cost of conversion. So cost of purchase, it is simply says that if you have a product, right? So you have two products for that. One, the cost at which you have manufactured it, and the other cost, which is like if you sell that a product today itself in the market, what is the value that you are going to get. So we have two costs. One is this net realizable market. So this value is nothing but if you sold your product today itself, what is the amount that you are going to get for that product. That is one cost, and other is measured and value of lower cost. Okay, so other is the product at which you bought it, or the amount that cost you to manufacture it. So out of these two values, that is a literal cost and the net realizable value, out of these two, whatever is the minimum price or minimum cost, you should consider those while storing the value of that product in your books of account. So it's again like we are following the prudence concept. So whatever is low, it's actual cost or it's net realizable value. So out of this, whichever is less, that you should consider. Next you have to that was cost of purchase. Next is our cost of conversion. So what it says is cost of inventory should comprise all cost of purchase, conversion and other costs. So if you have some inventory, right, it must have been bought from somewhere else. Okay, now you are doing some pre-processing on it, again you are storing it here. So everything that every process that is involved in the conversion of the product, the storage cost, the transportation cost, so all the cost of converting some product which you are having your inventory from raw format to the original format. Okay, so all the cost incurred in this complete process, you should include that. Okay, so that was our AS2, which talks about what value of a product should be considered while storing the value of that product or services in your books of accounts. So I hope these two accounting standards are clear. Let's move to accounting standard 4. Now what happened to accounting standard 3? Don't worry, if it is important we are going to cover it, otherwise we are not. Okay, now here it is our contingency. So future event which is possible but cannot be predicted with the certainty. So it is again we can say that some floods came. Okay, and floods came now. So there is a weather report which says that in 2 months there is going to be a big flood or earthquake. So some that sort of things which we are not sure that is going to happen, but we assume that it is going to happen, and that in that case what is the worst scenario we are going to face. So those scenarios we keep in mind while writing the transactions in our books of accounts. Next we have the second thing. So here accounting standard 4 is completely about the contingency and some uncertainty events. Okay, so it is about completely uncertainty. Accounting standard 4, it is about the contingency, which is talks about uncertainty. Again we have second uncertainty, which is like not the predicted one. Here in contingency we are predicting, okay, there is a possibility that this worst case could come across and we need to face these kind of worst case scenario. But again it also covers the worst case things which is not predicted. Okay, for example, on 1st April 2019 to 31st March 2020 our financial year is done. So on 31st of March we submit our financial statements. That is, for suppose balance sheet, we are done with preparing of our balance sheet on 31st March 2020, and we give our balance sheet, but it is not signed at the very date. Okay, 3 months from that, that is April, May, June. Okay, so within these 3 months there is a time gap. After this 3 months, management keeps a stamp, okay, we are good and this is our final statement. So within that 3 months, if something happens, Okay, for suppose in the month of May something wrong happened. For suppose a flood came actually. Okay, so flood came or COVID came, so business is not working. So COVID was not predicted. Okay, so COVID happened. So in that case, what you are doing, you should not consider this, because something that happened in the May should be recorded as part of the uh, that is next financial year, right? So if something is happening on the May 2020, it should be recorded in the financial year of 2020 and 2021. But it is also said that if it is happened before the management is signing or stamping on the balance sheet, that is 3 months from the 31st of March, it should be disclosed before the management is signing it. Okay, you should not record the transaction because it was not the part of the financial year for which you are submitting the balance sheet, but it should be. Okay, this event, this COVID event, because of which you had some loss, you should record that and disclose that, okay, this is what we have faced, but the transactions involved in it will be recorded in the next financial year, that is 2022-2021. I hope this is clear. So AS4 was all about the worst case scenarios, the predicted, unpredicted things. Okay, next we have AS5. So here what we see is, so in AS4 we have used the balance sheet, right? In AS5 we consider the profit and loss account. If you have seen the numerical that we did for profit and loss account, we were trying to get transactions from our journal ledger in that sequence, and then we are getting into our profit and loss account, considering what is liability, what is asset. So we were using some concepts there, right? So what this AS5 says is, we have different categories like ordinary activities, extraordinary activities, prior period items, accounting policies. So these concepts needs to be considered for validating whether a transaction should be stored in the should be stored in this year's profit and loss account or statement or not. Okay, so what are those things? One is the ordinary activities, which we write in generally. Okay, like whether it is an expense, whether it is a loss. So those things are not expense, it is about a real accounts. Okay, so real accounts is nothing but, okay, once again, so what is that that we include in profit and loss account, and what is that we include in balance sheet? In profit and loss account we focus on our this thing, on our expenses, losses. Okay, so this real account, that is asset and liabilities, is considered in our balance sheet. So that's why whatever transaction we are considering, the profit or loss, or whether that transaction should be considered or not, we see here. Okay, so extraordinary items are like in general when we store consider transaction for storing in our profit and loss account, whether it was a expense, whether it was a gain, loss, profit. So all those things which we generally not do, like for the ordinary activities which we consider in general, and these things which we not consider in general. Okay, so is there any example? Do not occur frequently, regularly. Income, expenses arise from transaction that clearly distinct from. Okay, so here we can say, for suppose we upgraded our technology and we brought some new machinery, so that was our extraordinary items, right? So you can say that, okay, machinery is an asset, so you cannot consider here. Okay, so this was just an example. Here we are going to store this transaction in our balance sheet, but similar to this, where we are focusing on, okay, for suppose we got some for logging or for monitoring, we bought some new set of skill set of people, and for them we have to pay salary. Okay, so this huge chunk of people that we have brought is not something which we get in or which we hire every year. So this was our extraordinary items. Okay, similarly prior period items. So income, expenses arises in current period as a result of omission. So if you have studied about errors that we face while storing transaction in our books of accounts, one of them is our error of omission. So here we cannot identify that the error is happened, because even on the left hand side, that is on the liability side, on the asset side, similarly on the expense side and on the gain side, both side we are losing to store a transaction. So in that case, our sheet will be balanced, but we will not be able to identify. So if any such transaction is missed, it is not resolved in the same financial year. But if that transaction is coming into the next financial year and we are able to discover it somehow, so in that case we store it. So that is something called as prior period items. So accounting policies. So if there is any deviation from the regular policies that we use. Okay, so all those things should also be mentioned. Okay, the methods of applying these principles by enterprise for preparing and presenting their financials. So here we consider these things for storing the transaction in our profit and loss account. So previously we have studied about something which is related to balance sheet. Now accounting standard 5 is about profit and loss account, accounting standard 6. So this is not existing as of now. This is merged with accounting standard 10. So what this says is it talks completely about the depreciation. So depreciation is nothing but the amount or the value lost by a tangible asset. If we are talking about intangible asset, that will be amortization. Here we are talking about tangible asset. So what this accounting standard says is rules that need to be considered when considering the depreciation of any accounting. So what it says is we follow two methods, that is SLM method, which is nothing but a straight line method. Next is WDV method, which is nothing but a written down value. So we use either of them while calculating the depreciation of any asset, okay, any tangible asset. So this is a part of accounting standard 10 as of now. So now what is SLM, straight line method? So what it says is, suppose you have okay, here I have taken an example. You have an asset worth 5 lakh rupees when you bought it. Okay, now straight line method says is every year you will be removing 20% of 5 lakh. So that's how we can say that we use that asset for 5 years. So what happens here is, first year 20% of 5 lakh is 1 lakh. So we are going to remove 1 lakh value. Next year again we are going to remove 1 lakh from the 4 lakhs. Next year we are going to remove 1 lakh from 3 lakh. So that's how we are going to remove 20% of the parent, that is 20% of 5 lakh is 1 lakh. So we are going to remove 1 lakh every year. Okay, we are not going to see what is the current value of that asset, but we are going to remove 1 lakh from that asset every year. So that is a straight line method. But what WDV says, that is written down value, says that 20% of its current value should be removed. Okay, not the 20% of its original value, but 20% of its current value. For suppose first year 20% of 5 lakh, that is 1 lakh was removed. Okay, now next year when you are calculating the depreciation of that product, what you will do is, you, since 1 lakh is removed from 5 lakh, what is the current value? 4 lakh. So we will calculate 20% of 4 lakh and then you will remove, rather than removing 1 lakh, you will remove 20% of 4 lakh. That is, I guess 20% of 4 lakh is what? 80,000. So you will remove 80,000 from 4 lakh. So that's how next year you will consider 20% of 3 lakh 20,000. So that's how written down value says that consider the percentage on the current value of the asset. So this completely deals with how to calculate the depreciation. Okay, now even in the depreciation there are some things which we don't consider. For example, because depreciation is calculated on tangible asset and your forest, plantation, okay, all these are tangible assets only, right? But we don't consider the depreciation on these things. So these are some of the exceptions. Okay, now next moving to accounting standard 9. So if you have seen that video where we are doing the cash flow statement, there we understood the concept of cash inflow and cash outflow, right? So here accounting standard 9 deals with revenue recognition, means what is the amount of cash inflow that has occurred during this financial year. Okay, so based on that we use some methods like completed service contract method, proportion completion method. So these are some criterias we see. Okay, so this is like for building a mall, we took a contract for 5 years. Now how much it is completed as of this financial year, so what part of it should be considered in the books of account, that is considered proportion here. So basically what all things should be considered as something which organization has earned, so that we study in the accounting standard 9. So the summarized point is that accounting standard 9 deals with the revenue recognition. Revenue recognition means something that is generated out of the core business. Next we have accounting standard AS10. Now if you have seen in AS6 we were dealing with the depreciation, which is nothing but about the tangible asset. So here we completely study about this property, plant and equipment. So what it says is fixed asset refers to, okay, we know what is fixed asset. Okay, something which is not meant for sale in the long term. Okay, or we can say it is not at all kept for sale. It is bought so that our business can run. Okay, so it is not holded like we hold stocks or mutual funds for long period of time. So that we hold so that we can bring out money, or we can sell it in future for better growth or return on investment. So that is not a fixed asset. Here literally some building is bought by the organization and they have no intention of selling it, so those things we call it fixed asset. So forest, plantation, natural resources, okay, expenditure on exploration, okay, yeah. So what it says is, when considering your tangible assets, what are things you should exclude? So it excludes this forest, plantation and regenerative natural resources, and expenditure on real estate and livestock, expenditure on exploration. So here we are seeing that okay, non-regenerative resources, expenditure on exploration for extraction of mineral layer. So here some R&D happened. Okay, now these things are not considered while we talk about the tangible assets, or we talk about the depreciation on the tangible assets. Okay, next is fair market value and gross book value of fixed assets. So this is something that we said about the prudent concept. What is the value of any tangible asset? We are talking in AS10, whatever this market value is about some tangible asset. Again, if it is a service, that is not considered here. Okay, so AS10 was all about the depreciation and about the tangible assets. Next we have AS16. So what happened? Control F. This is not required. Okay, so AS10, what AS10 says that refers to the interest and other costs incurred by the organization. So here we said that what are all the interest that we are paying or we are getting that we should consider. Okay, so it's all about borrowed cost. So if we suppose we took a loan of 500 crores, okay, so we are not going to write that 500 crores in this financial year itself. Okay, we are going to say the amount of interest that we are paying on a borrowed amount, that we are going to consider. So here you can see refers to the interest and other costs incurred by the org related to borrowing of funds. Okay, similarly qualifying asset, again if you remember that accounting standard 16 is all about borrowing cost. Now if you are talking about the asset, it again refers something that we have borrowed. Okay, so let's read. Refers to the asset that necessarily take a considerable amount of time to get ready for its intended use for sale. So here what we are saying is, suppose I took a contract of building a big mall. Okay, now that is a contract that I have taken for selling, because I am taking this much like I am building this much asset for selling purpose. That is not my fixed asset, but when I am building it, I have borrowed some money from others, I have borrowed some or the other thing for building, or for suppose here what I can say, I am taking a 2 or 3 or 4 my financial years for building it. Okay, now because that is some I can say that is a kind of current asset but not my fixed asset. So the cost incurred in building or preparing of that current asset is also considered for AS16, which talks only about the borrowed cost. So here we are not talking about the building itself, it is talking about the cost incurred in the building of that asset. Okay, so here it's all about what are the external costs that we are paying or on something that is not belongs to organization. Okay, here AS26. So we are done with tangible assets. Now we are getting back to intangible assets. So here what accounting standard says is, the only line that accounting standard 26 says that what all things can be considered under the intangible assets. So one is asset which cannot be touched, of course, intangible asset, money or cash which is there with us, and money or cash which is there in our, we can say not with us, but if we want we can convert those into money within a short span of time, that is within the same financial year. So those amount and useful life of an asset. So all these things so this AS26 is all about what all things that we can consider as an intangible asset, because based on whether it is an intangible or not, it is going to affect how we are going to consider the transaction in storing again in our books of accounts. Next we have accounting for investments. So if you have seen the video of again the cash flow statement, there we have seen what are the operations that we consider as operational activities, what are activities we consider as investment activities, what are operations we consider as our financing activities. So if you are, here we are not talking about the investment. So if we have did some investment in some other company, it is nothing but we are holding our dividends, we are going to get our interest, we are going to get some capital appreciation, and many other benefits. So AS 13 is talking all about our investment, what type of investment we should consider for okay, what all transactions can be considered as an actual investment. So transactions which involve the actual holding of dividends, these rentals, interest, okay, all these things are considered as one of the category of the investment. Similarly, current investment, which is nothing but the investment which is done for less than 1 year, and again investment which is done for more than 1 year, and again the investment property. So it talks about all the things that we can consider for the which can be considered as the investment. So again, this concept is useful for preparing the cash flow statement. Okay, now segment reporting. So this is not about any specific kind of concept, but it is only about segmentation. Okay, so when you are preparing the financial statement, if it this can be done in two methods. One is like business ways. So what business management says is, like, if you are preparing financial statement based on, like, your company provides 10 different types of products. So if your financial statement says, like, okay, for this product this is the financial statement, for the 7th product this is the financial statement, for 10th product. So if you are segregating your financial statement based on your businesses, so it would be easy for everyone to understand the performance, assessing risk, and to calculate the ROI and making other judgments. Okay, similarly, we can either divide it based on the products and services that we do, or we can divide it based on our geography. So segment reporting is all about, if you want to segment your financial statement based on either business or based on geographical, what are the principles and standards you need to consider for segments. So that's why we call AS 17 as segment reporting. I think this was the most simplest of all. It simply talks about what are the rules and regulations to be followed when you are either doing financial statement based on business or based on geography. Now next we have earnings per share. So this again, AS 20 is nothing but accounting standard. Accounting standard is nothing but rules and regulations which talks about earnings per share. So here I'll simply take this example. This again my teacher told me. So this example is very good, and if this is clear, we can easily say what all these are saying. So here we are taking an example, and in above we have simply said what is the description. So here we can say, if suppose 500 lakhs is our total share capital, and our intention is what? Our intention is to calculate the earnings per share. So for the calculating the earnings per share, we need to identify what is the number of shares that we have. So we can say that 500 lakhs is our total share, and when this shares was issued in the public, or we did the IPO at that time, the 100 rupees was the value of each share. So we have 500 lakhs of money, and each share was 100 rupees. So if we divide 500 lakhs by 100, we can get the number of shares, which is nothing but 5 lakh shares. Okay, now profit is 50 lakh, and we have shares as 5 lakh shares. So if we divide, we are getting 10 rupees. That is, earnings per share is 10 rupees. Again, this earning is right per share. It is called a shared earning, but this shared earning is categorized in two categories. One is retained earning, one is distributed. So what that means is, whatever the profit or earnings that a company is getting, they will either distribute it among the shareholders, or they can use it for their company's growth or development, or they can do that partially they will distribute it, and partially they will hold it for themselves. Okay, themselves in the sense for the organization. So that is what we call as retained earnings. That is the profit that company holds for themselves, and distribute, that is, it divides among the shareholders. But as a whole, we call them as shared earning. So AS 20 is all about earnings per share. I hope this is also clear. Now next we have AS 26, which is about intangible assets. Now our final accounting statement that we are going to study today is our AS 26, which talks about not the intangible assets, but the intangible assets which directly or indirectly deals with the production. Okay, it should have some or the other production on the it should have some or the other effect on the production. If there is some other category that is happening, and that department has nothing to do with the production, that intangible assets in that department will not be considered. So intangible assets which is directly or indirectly affecting the production, that those assets we are going to consider here. Now here, everything related to those intangible assets we are going to consider, whether it is a amortization, or whether it is a literal intangible assets like a copyright or patent. Okay, it deals with the identification, and it deals with the initial recognition and derecognition, means the initial value and the current value. If you are selling someone, then the value of the patent getting decreased. So all those things are considered in AS26. Now here there is some exception here. Okay, if suppose you are doing some research and development. Okay, now if after the research of suppose 8 months, 9 months, if the end result of that is somehow useful for the production, then we consider that as an intangible asset. But if the output of that research is not at all useful for the production, then we don't consider the cost or the equipments or the like intelligence used for that R&D as a part of our intangible asset. So I hope this is clear, like whatever is affecting the production, only cost incurred on that or that product itself will be considered as intangible asset. So that was our AS26. Finally, this is the list of AS, which is like, okay, this is the AS21 and what does it deals with. So it's like a one liner heading for the each accounting standard. So I'll have this URL in the description. If you have any queries, please write down in the comment section, and you can refer to this site for seeing again the summarized thing. Okay, so that's it for today, and if you liked my explanation, please subscribe my channel and share and support. That's it for today. Thank you.